Hello, everybody, and welcome back to We Know Traitors podcast over here on RHAP. I am your host, the Duke of Deception. It is Vakili, ready to talk about season 3, episode 3 of Traitors Canada with me, my one and only co-host when it comes to all things Canadian Traitors, the one and only Brian Devin Scally. Scally, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to be back here. I feel like it's a great season, a very shady bunch, especially the Traitors. So I'm very happy to be back here talking about them, the reveal of everyone that is up for murder. We find out how this plays out. I feel like there was so much that I had as a question coming into this week. And so I feel like very satisfying answers were given.
Yeah, again, 3 episodes in, I feel like Traitors Canada is delivering heavily. Another very fun episode in the books here. A lot of shade thrown, a lot of drama that's starting to brew, and honestly, a lot of questions that have come up for me as far as which direction this group is going to take it. So before we get any further, let me just say off rip, we are about to talk about everything that happened in episode 3, meaning we are going to talk about everyone who has been marked for death, murdered, banished, everything under the umbrella. So if you do not want to know that, you have clicked on the wrong one. Make sure you pause, watch the episode, come back, or close your eyes as of 3 seconds from now when I put the graphic on the screen. 2, 1, there we go. Boom. All right, Scally, at this hour, we have lost 2 more faithfuls. The faithfuls really in the dark here, except for a little bit of breadcrumbs at the end of the episode. What were your thoughts on the people we lost along the way today?
It's tough. It's definitely tough. Obviously, we are very early in the season, so we have not gotten to know everyone the best, and especially with the Traitors strategy of picking some of the quiet people to highlight here. I think it was very interesting to see in that direction, but I'm sad. I feel like everyone on this season has been really coming through for me, and so to see people who I have enjoyed, if not gotten to know in their entirety, and now they're stripped out of my hands and I don't get their full story on the season, I am sad. I'm sad to lose them.
Yeah, it's kind of heartbreaking, but also fascinating in a way this episode was, because we see the Traitors discuss what they're gonna do with this bombshell that was thrown their way. They have to shortlist 4 people. One of those 4 is going to die during the mission, and we immediately go to the conclave where they are discussing the merits of putting up the 4 most quiet, most innocent faithfuls that they can find. And part of the argument was we want to punish people for being quiet, so they don't want people to feel that they're going to be quiet, which we do actually see a couple of them decide to raise their voices moving forward. So that's an interesting thought. The other thing for me is that a lot of these people who we do not know, I immediately realized, oh, we're going to just lose one of them straight up without having known anything about them.
Yeah, it was tough. I feel bad. Obviously, you want everyone to feel like their story was told on the show. And I think that, I got enough of everyone to enjoy them. But regardless, for any of the 4 people that were down in the wells, the coffins, the graves that were dug and fully cemented on the side, I haven't seen too many graves like that before. But it was going to be a tough one for any of them.
Yeah, definitely not a great route to go out. We often talk about how getting murdered overnight is like the worst thing that could happen. So at the very least, you didn't get murdered in the darkness of the night where no one sees you, no goodbyes. But is this arguably somewhat worse, Scally, where you're basically begging and yelling for people to save you only to find out they ain't trying to save you and you go home?
Ooh, yeah, I would rather. It's tough. Like,
Like,
at least you get like a little bit of your moment here,
for TV
but
time, it's better.
yeah, I
But
would rather go out thinking everyone's really upset that I'm going home.
they're all throwing a tantrum at breakfast because I'm not
Uh,
there. They're
they would
mad.
have they would have thrown me 30 rungs just to be safe if I was in the well.
Exactly. A little bit of copium. You want that in these things. It's not a bad idea. It's not a bad way to go. So how do we want to unpack today? Because I feel like we can easily jump back and forth to the end, to the front. Because in order for us to talk about how the episode starts, we have to talk about the mission. We have to talk about how the faithful that does get murdered goes out here. But what were your thoughts on the whole thing with like, let's get the quiet people on this list. Do you think this was a good idea?
I think it's certainly interesting because you can't get them all murdered at once. We can't take all of the quiet people out at one time. And now I think that not everyone on this quiet list was assumed to be a 100% faithful. And I think
No.
especially after last season where someone, a quiet one who popped up right at the end of the game, Netta, to be
Yep.
a very, very dangerous traitor. I think that maybe some of these people could have been used as,
Yeah.
late game suspects. But the problem is, I understand they're not taking the target off of you right now. And so that is concerning. Now, I think that making these 4 quiet people speak up, good strategy, but making these 4 quiet people look super faithful and then unleashing unknown theories into the game is a little scary. I don't know if I would want like 4 people who I didn't know what they were thinking all of a sudden be the most trusted people in the house.
Yeah, I think that's the big worry for me. And we kind of see this a little bit by episode's end, where the fact that we do not know, you don't know what these people are thinking, is a blessing and a curse. The blessing is if they feel now vulnerable and scared, you could pick them up. They are scoopable. The drawback is if they're like, you know what, I've been playing this game scared, and I'm here to tell you that I think Coco's a traitor. Now that's not good. You don't want this quiet person suddenly finding their voice if they're playing scared. I do think also I understand the logic though in putting in the quiet people, because usually when when faithfuls get loud, more often than not they're gonna be wrong. Or at least that's been the vibe so far. So it's like, oh, let me get a couple more loud voices in there that are wrong, while there's already going to be heat on these other faithfuls who are loud and wrong, and that could be good for us moving forward. So I understand the logic there. However, part of me also feels like, is it too cute to go this route this early when there should probably be a couple people you want to get out anyway, more so than others? It's still going to be hard, and I can't blame them too much because you do not get a say. Like, to be very clear, the traitors didn't murder Mackenzie. The faithful murdered Mackenzie. So you don't get to pick which one of the 4 goes. So it kind of does feel like, okay, it's a safe one. We get rid of one of the people that probably weren't going to get banished anytime soon. So I like that from a strategic perspective.
Yeah, it's hard because I agree where the thought process is, let's get some of these people who are not likely to be suspected as a traitor out of here. And the way that Coco verbalizes that is, let's just put all the borings in there. And while
The
hilarious,
dullards.
well, very hilarious. And she does very quickly say in confessional, like, I'm so sorry. I don't know why I said that. I don't think you're boring. I think questionable if she actually thinks they're boring, but I think some of these people could have had fun storylines, will have fun storylines as the season progresses, and but also are not necessarily the people that are not the ones that are not going to get voted out. Whereas you have someone like Hollywood Jade who is coming into breakfast, and everyone's like, I can't believe he's here because I don't really see a reason why I would keep him around as a traitor. He is very vocal, comes off very faithful. So even though this is someone who has a lot of attention on them, doesn't seem like the most likely vote out. So even though Hollywood's not quiet, still might have been a worthwhile grave pick.
I think the other side of this, and this definitely becomes a big discussion point throughout the episode, is the conversation surrounding the coffin theory that we see happen every season, where the immediate concern is someone is a traitor amongst the people in the coffins. Now, this edition of it, because they're not all the same, this edition of the coffin game, or this death row, I feel like should hard clear everyone in danger, because they are guaranteed in danger. This is a live execution, basically. The traitors did not predetermine who's going to get murdered here. You are deciding who gets murdered. So every bit of chance that they're going to get murdered here, it's a huge gamble. And I think putting 4 people that are also very quiet means that they're all going to get exonerated, because you wouldn't expect any of them to be that ballsy to pull a move off like this, right? Whereas I feel like you put Hollywood Jade in there, potentially because they were like, Hollywood Jade should not be alive right now. Why is this happening? They could look at it as, okay, we're clearing Hollywood Jade because Hollywood Jade of course, the Traitors want Hollywood Jade dead. Versus, Hollywood Jade would do something like this to make us not look that way. So I think they needed one or two names like that that could just put some doubt in people's heads. Versus by the time they get out of these coffins, they really were like, it could be Thompson, but I no longer think it's Thompson. So it kind of neutralized Jericho, Natalie, and Thompson moving forward, even more so.
Yeah, it's exactly what it was. Is people were very quick to go ahead and look at, I think specifically Jericho and Natalie, and be like, if they were traitors, they would never pull a move like this. Like, we already trusted them a lot, and just given their personality, how they're playing the game so far, what we know of them, I don't see this from them. So it cleared them even more. I wonder if that was an attempt with a Thompson or with the Mackenzie, and so they thought that they might gain some sus on them. There's some talk of Thompson. There is even a mention of like, maybe Jericho's this secret mastermind who's just pulling the wool over all of our eyes. But the chances of that being the case are so low that even for someone who had a little bit of sus on them before this, it manages to clear them almost completely.
Yeah. I think there's definitely this was a very intriguing twist. Like, I'm not mad at this twist whatsoever.
No.
I think it's very fun. It's fresh. I think the idea that you could risk putting yourself in there, but you could also die, I think is a fun one. And also, I think it intensifies the rivalry between the Traitors and the Faithfuls, when the Faithfuls basically feel like we have to put one of our own out of here, and that's on you. You've made us do this and they picked some 4 very innocent people. So it was a little bit brutal, but I do like that shift up here in this specific twist, because what I don't want is for us to spend 3 episodes talking about the goddamn coffin theory like we did in season 3 of the US. So that is an ace. I like that. Now, what's interesting specifically with this group is that it really did, listen, Natalie aside, bless you, Natalie, but Natalie was very animated throughout the mission and was very loud. I was like, oh my God, we're getting to see Nata's personality. And then Natalie went quiet again and also voted rogue again. But Jericho and Thompson specifically come into the round table being like, it's my, this is a sign. They don't want me to, they want to send me into the night. I'm not going quietly. I might have one chance. I'm going to vocalize my thoughts here. So what were your thoughts when the vocalizing of thoughts was, we're going to both name the same person that everyone else is suspicious of here? What did you think about that?
I think it's just like probably human nature to default to that. And even if you're doing it consciously or not, I think that your brain is kind of like, yeah, I've heard all of this stuff. And so all of the theories, yeah, that makes, the most sense of anything I've heard. So I'm not super surprised. And especially being that, it seems like the votes had lined up there last time as well. But I think it's tough. I think it is a tough look where you're told like, okay, you're quiet. Just because you add to the chorus of voices saying a different name is not going to convince me that you are really taking a chance here.
Yeah, I mean, that's very fair. I think that, Venus also talks about this a little bit, where she's just trying to get involved tonight. She's trying to not be quiet tonight. And I think that's not a bad thing to do, whether you're faithful or a traitor at this moment, especially now that the Traitors have put 4 quiet people and said, your move, get involved now. So I'm not mad at this particularly. I think throwing out the name of somebody who a lot of people are saying is fine. It just ultimately you want to be seen as, okay, you have a voice, so you're not afraid to use it. We kind of see Netta do it brilliantly last year in a different set of situations where Netta goes, I feel terrified to bring this person's name up. That's why I've been quiet. Here, it's so early, you don't need to do all that, right? You just need to start putting some theories out, start to cook, so that in the event that we get 2 banishments in, like in week episode 6, let's say, they're not like, you know what, Jericho? Now that you're still here and haven't said anything, it is weird that maybe you are bad. So you don't want that. You want to seem like you're equals with everybody else and have contributed about the same amount as everybody else.
Yeah. And I get why it happens. Like, the reason why people were probably quiet in the first place is because their theories were already being supported by other people. So they didn't feel the need to talk. So it's like, all right, now that I feel the need to talk, I'm going to say my theories, which I kept quiet because everyone was already saying before. But I think that for the Traitors, they have risked, I would point towards someone, you say coffin theory in season 3 of Traitors US, but I feel like someone like Sierra, who was a little quiet early on in Traitors US 3, really has tasted Traitors' death in the season in that coffin. Similarly here, I could see some of these people, like, I already know what it feels like to think that I was going home. I'm probably led blindfolded into this coffin and put in there early in the morning. Like, all right, as Jericho says, like, I know that my time in this game is not guaranteed anymore. I want to feel like I left here doing something rather than being quiet like I had been. And so I'm going to just start throwing crap at the walls. And that might be right now the same common vote. But I think they're much more actively looking in the game, and I would expect to see, at least from what I saw from Jericho here today, at least a little more divergent thought.
I think that playing the Traitors is such a tightrope game that, to your point, if you do end up staring death in the face even a little bit, I think it emboldens you to play like you're not going to be here tomorrow, because you realize I genuinely could have been gone. I'm getting an extra mission here. I'm getting an extra roundtable here. You don't want to take that for granted. You don't want to miss out on a moment because you felt a little too scared to do something. And so while we have that going on, we do still have a couple of faithfuls who are kind of working in the shadows a little more. So let's go to our friend Omer Zahir here, who Omer is kind of in a seesaw situation where first week he's so convinced it's Kevin, second week he's like, it's absolutely not Kevin, and now he's all back in on the whole traitor angel strategy with Kevin at the wheel of that. What did you think about Omer operating on with the utilizing of the traitor angel strategy here?
I love it. It's one of my favorite, like, just, I would say, early things that a lot of people clocked in the game. Like, I think the Traitors Angel strategy is goated pretty much. Like, if you can figure it out, it's absolutely what you should be doing. You should be having one, maybe a backup Traitors Angel, like, of like, okay, even if this person's not, let me just stick my head under their wing and hope that this plays through. So if one or two or three doesn't work, then at least I have this. But I feel like with Omer, he's getting approached by Kevin saying, like, just trust me, do this thing. I think Kevin is someone who might pull a move like that in the game regardless, but especially if Omer has any kind of like inclination to think that Kevin is a traitor. I love him sticking by him regardless, especially if he's a traitor. And I love the thought of, like, yeah, we should make these moves, and yeah, I want to be recruited, but I don't need to be recruited right now because you're not going to murder me. I'm not going to get banished, so let's wait a little bit.
I think that this is a slam dunk strategy for Omer specifically, because if you follow what we said week one, right, which was, if I'm one or the other guy, if I'm the faithful one, I'm looking directly at you and saying, this is like looking into a cross-platform mirror. You are me from the alternate universe that is your show, so you're probably the traitor. Then I think hitching your wagon there is only going to benefit you, because either A, you two still have some rapport and play the game together as two faithfuls that you're incorrectly reading as a traitor, or B, you are right, they are a traitor, and you are right in realizing that they probably want me in that conclave with them. So let me play that card, and, you know, the more I work with him, the more he's going to advocate for me to stay in the game. Now, if you're Omer, I think your head is still buzzing a little bit, because you're like, okay, I do think he's a traitor, but why did Ty leave? Like, you're like dying to know, why did Ty leave in the midst of all that? Because that still doesn't make sense. But again, I think it's not a bad strategy to have. And I think for Omer, you know, in this photo, it encapsulates it perfectly. If he's trying to keep his survivor connection with Venus strong, lucky for you, Venus is a traitor. If you're trying to get that reality TV competitive side thing going with Kevin, good for you, also a traitor. So he's kind of triangulated in a great spot. I do think that we are seeing him go all in on Kevin as his angel. Whether that is by because also if he's trying to do the metagame and he's like, well, they also would have picked a survivor. They didn't pick me, they picked Venus. No, there is no, as a faithful, I feel like there's no loss for him as the faithful from Survivor / Big Brother. It's never a loss for you to be friends or cozy up with the other Survivor Big Brother people in these shows, specifically in the Traitor franchises, because more often than not, at least one of them is in that turret or in the conclave. Yep. At least one has been there historically. So not a bad assumption to make.
Yeah, I guess the concern, like you brought up, is why did Ty go home? And if it was done to Ty without having all of this context, is Kevin going to do it to me too? I make the move
Mm-hmm.
tonight of like, okay, you know, it's Coco. Coco goes ahead, and she was the 2-time Big Brother finalist. Thank you so much, Omer. Now I'm going to murder you tonight because I don't need you going back public with the fact that I told you to do that. So I do think for Omer, especially keeping Kevin, you know, hanging on for a little longer of like, you need me to do this later, so I'm not going to let you
Mm-hmm.
do this just now. Also makes a lot of sense. If he can do it to Ty without the context, he could do it to
Mm-hmm.
me. So I'm going to do you a favor after you keep me around a little bit more.
And that is the exact counter argument and reason why, Scally, that as much as I do think for Omer, this is a slam dunk strat right now, I do not think this is a strat you hold on to the whole way through. Because if you are Omer, you 100% have to assume that if Kevin is a traitor and brings me in, Kevin's going to try and push me out because he needs another reality person to leave as a traitor. So I think that I would always prepare for that. And then if I'm Kevin, I'm always prepared with the assumption that if I'm bringing you in, you're immediately going to doubt me a little bit as far as us being in cahoots, and you're going to see me as trying to push you out. So this is why I think the while it was a goated starting strat for the earlier seasons, I think the more and more people play it, the more and more people will think about it a couple steps ahead, which makes it even more volatile of a strategy to use because there's no guarantee. Like, to your point, I think the thing I'd be more worried about if I'm Omer is I work with Kevin until I give him the result he wants, and then he gets rid of me before I can say anything, because that would make it a lot easier for him. I've always said if I was playing and one of my friends was a faithful that I'm working with, I don't want them to get to the end because I don't want to get gotcha'd by someone who thinks they gotcha'd me when I thought I was gotcha'ing them. I would never live that down. So absolutely not. Yeah, you think I'm taking Scally to the final four? No.
Here, that's the thing, is I know I'm undyingly loyal. I would never betray anyone like that. I would go to the final two and lose to my friend, but I know that they would not believe that. So they
You're laughing as you're saying this. How am I supposed to buy anything you're saying right
but
now?
I know they would not believe that. And so, like Omer, I would think now is the perfect time to get rid of me at this game. If not now or earlier, they're going
Yeah.
to do it to me. And that's what makes the Traitor Angel strategy so interesting, is
Mm-hmm.
you can play this whole game thinking, I'm doing great. I'm going to get to the end with my traitor buddy, and they're going to keep me, and we're going to win together, or I'm going to get them right at the last second. And then guess what? They have all of the power just to murder you in the middle of the night because you're not valuable to them anymore. So it's so
I
fun. I'm really excited.
I think for the early game, it's a viable strategy because Kevin is still like, if you're operating under the assumption that he's a traitor, he is still getting his bearings underneath him. You can tell that Kevin is bouncing all over the walls here. He clearly wants to push Coco's name out there. He's doing a lot more that you're seeing. At least that's what we're being shown. So he's probably not going to kill you. You're small fry right now. He needs a friend and you are the friend. So let me cozy up. Let me stay close.
Yep.
But, always think about what could happen for the other shoe to drop. Now, Scally, we've talked about a lot of people in the last couple of weeks that we've not really gotten to know that are invisible. I genuinely, and this feels mean, I genuinely don't mean this to be mean, but I found myself being like, oh my God, I forgot about Kitten a second week in a row. What is going on with Kitten?
I feel bad for Kitten. I feel like Kitten's a very fun personality who just has probably been that in the house. Everyone likes Kitten, I'm assuming. Everyone is having a good time with Kitten. But there's probably been a ton of drama there. It doesn't seem like Kitten has been the most actively loud at a round table, and maybe just like her being fun and a big personality as like a person saved her from going down in one of those graves. But I don't know that, unfortunately, we've gotten to see Kitten flex the game muscles. So yeah, I'm a little worried for Kitten.
I'm worried for Kitten also. I feel like it's interesting the weight of the story right now, because there's quite a few of the reality TV folk that you just are not hearing from at
Yep.
all. But then there's a couple of the new people that we're getting to meet that we're getting a lot more from. Now, I specifically want to move over to Chala and Meredith, because that exchange was something that I have dreamt about And when I think about me and Liana playing this game as a secret pair, because that was amazing. I really, really love that. You can't help but root for these two as faithfuls.
It's super interesting. I mean, the fact that they've finally let their walls down enough to talk in front of people because, okay, everyone's friends now. We can have a little conversation. That's okay. And I think especially given that Meredith seemed to have had a hard night the night before. All right, let's do a little check-in. We, waited enough time. It was super fun. Obviously, we get them both like, but are you a faithful? But am I getting fooled by, my spouse? I'm not 100% sure, but still fun. I'm glad we got it.
Yeah, same. Because I do think that they waited the appropriate amount of time where like it's assumed everyone's going to talk with each other, so it's not going to seem any type of way. And like again, you need to check in a little bit. I feel like I don't ultimately, whether I think you're a faithful or a traitor or not, I don't care. You know what I mean? In that situation, I'm like, I don't care because, and this is Liana's favorite argument, which is if we are both in the castle and one of us is a traitor, the other is a faithful, I do not care if you're a traitor. I will let you do what you need to do because if you win, it's our money, we win. And then I'm like, yes, but I also want the win. So if you are the traitor, I will probably try and win against you, even though I will not do it until one of us is somewhat guaranteed the win.
Yeah.
So
I think it's interesting because Chala in the first episode even said, like, I'm not a good liar, that they don't think that they could be a traitor. And so if you're Meredith and let's say you are a traitor, like, or if you're Chala and you're talking to Meredith, like, I don't think that you should share it. Like, Chala can't lie. Chala's gonna get you both voted out. Like, don't tell me. I don't want to know. Like, in that situation, I think
I want to
would
act the same way I
personally.
am acting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I think that they know themselves, well enough. And so if you know that you will not handle that well, you know that your partner will not handle that well, or vice versa, maybe just status quo it, especially when you both kind of already have a little bit of attention on you.
Yeah, I think it's especially tough for Chala because Chala's clearly having their name get brought up so much also. And it's sad because I feel like Chala, to me, coming out of episode 1, was the most happy person to be a faithful. So imagine having that energy and then constantly being told you're a traitor. That would rile me all the way up. So
Real
again,
hard.
yeah, rooting for the
And
two of them for
I will
sure.
say it's very fun that they're letting their guards down a little bit, but might have also almost cost them here, where Meredith letting the guard down a little bit. She is talking to Rhea, and it's like, oh yeah, and I was a retired rugby player. I just love playing rugby. And Rhea, very bold, comes out immediately and goes, "Oh, so are you gay?"
That is wild. I'm so that I was like, you just found yourself a trampoline, Rhea, and just jumped to that conclusion. Because come on. But it did put the fear into Meredith for sure, though.
And
So
Meredith,
funny.
like, very clearly is, like, keeps up the lie of like, I actually identify as pansexual, but like I have a husband. I definitely have a husband at home. He's definitely real. For Rita to be like, oh, I don't know. I just like heard rugby and like all of this pointing towards how she's dressed this episode. I'm like, Rhea, balls of steel. Like I did not think that was gonna happen.
I was dying. That was so funny. That exchange was so funny to me. Well, we're speaking about Rhea right now. I feel like Rhea, we got to see more of this episode. Definitely someone who is finding their voice some, decides to, tells us a little bit into her strategy of like, I'm gonna try and talk to as many people as I can, just have a bond with them. And then talks to Asfer, and Asfer is later banished. Last episode, she talked to Curtis. Curtis was banished. Who do we want Rhea to talk to next week to have them get banished? Because does Rhea have the magical powers here?
The kiss of death. That is so scary. I really enjoyed this from Rhea. I think that she's correct in that she's not going to get to talk to everyone during the day, even though you might try to. There's just going to be like either small groups, small cliques, and even duos that just end up talking to each other a lot more, confiding in each other a lot more. And so the inclination to sit next to someone at breakfast both can help you get a little insight into their game that you didn't have otherwise, and also maybe make them less likely to throw your name around and vote for you. So really liked the job from Rhea. I don't know that it put her necessarily in the right direction. So we can still work on a couple things there, but I'm really enjoying her as a character. I find her to be super fun.
Same. I like when we have fun personalities that also find their voice in the game and are not afraid to speak, because it does do for some good entertainment. On the other side of things, we have somebody who has been very vocal now 2 roundtables in a row and has been very wrong. And I feel like has not had their name brought up in any capacity at all. And that's Jamal. Jamal confuses me greatly because it seems like Jamal does have power in his voice. People listen to him, but it also is very incorrect. Now, Chala doesn't leave here, but as things stand, I worry for them next banishment. Unless, the traitors decide to get in their own way a little bit. And I feel like Jamal's been, at the helm of that to a relative degree.
Yeah, Jamal clocks like, okay, though Chala did a really good job of convincing us at the last roundtable, the potential is there that they are such a good speaker and so logical and so reasonable and so personable that if I'm looking for the qualities that could pull off the role of a traitor, I see that they possess a lot of them. And so Jamal's not wrong, I think, to look at
Mhm.
that. Especially, given the context of the quote unquote mistake that Chala made on last week's episode. I find him to be a super interesting character as well so far. He's like, I am generally pretty invested in this character, of someone who is like very reasoned and just like explains exactly what they think and talks at almost every roundtable. So I am curious to see how Jamal does, because I don't think that we've gotten to know him super well, but
Mhm.
I feel like I know many Jamals from past seasons.
Are you surprised that Jamal's not somebody? I mean, I think actually I'm going to answer my own question immediately. I don't think Jamal was considered for the shortlist because I think as long as he's doing this with the wrong answer, then it's fine.
Yep.
The concern I would have as a trader is how many more opportunities until he does land on the right name. I mean, we've seen this happen before where the loud voices end up having to become quiet after they get it wrong like thrice. And they're like, okay, enough of me. I'm going to go back into the background a little bit. But I don't see that happening with Jamal yet. So I would be a little bit concerned. I also feel like because his name's not coming up, because he's a respected voice in the roundtable, getting rid of him could throw ripples across and could give them the confirmation bias they want to be like, you know what, it's Chala. He was onto something. We got to go that direction. So actually, I'm surprised, but I agree with you. Having someone who, because again, there's not a lot of things you can do to point to him as a mistake, that he's making a mistake, because he's level-headed with his arguments. His arguments are very like, with foundations in fact, with a lot of the Chala sus coming from, first of all, that comment about the shields was a wild thing to do. Second of all, your response made me feel good, which is very scary, because if you're able to convince a whole table that what you did there was fine, even though I still kind of feel like it's not fine if I'm Jamal, then I'm concerned because you can just flip it on me anyway. Again, also worth reminding everybody that just because someone's a faithful doesn't mean they can't be detrimental to your game as a fellow faithful also. So if I'm Jamal and I'm like, dude, Chala, they can convince anybody of anything. And if we're in a 1v1, Chala could demolish me verbally, and I don't want that.
Yeah, that's also a really good point. So I think Jamal, I'm looking at right now, probably like a mid-game exit. I think that he can do well, hold his own, speak just enough, but not too much, but not too little, and not target the wrong people, where he's gonna stick around. But I think that eventually you kind of look at like, all right, who have we not looked at so far and maybe could pull
Mm-hmm.
this off? And Jamal's been pretty active this whole time, but it's that right middle of the road where now all of a sudden we got to start looking at him.
Yeah, I definitely do see that kind of being the exit point for him as of right now. Is there anybody who else you want to highlight for us to talk about a little bit here?
Ooh, let's talk about. I feel like we haven't really dove into the Thompson of it all, because Thompson is someone who, I mean, we talked about in the premiere. Thompson is super quiet. They talk about in this episode, Thompson's been super quiet, even though he had a little bit of a spike there. But it is all of the sudden that people are really looking at Thompson in these graves as the most likely traitor. He has a couple of connections, but not the most well connected. A had supposedly said Venus's name, so not necessarily a check on the list for her. But I find Thompson to be a potential interesting character here.
I am loving this. Venus is keeping Thompson in just to be the one to kick him out. I thought that was a very fun little storyline we got, that she wanted to protect him from getting murdered. And I think part of it was because she felt like we can bury him a little bit. I think a lot of people are looking at him as a traitor in the coffin. And then once he got like hard cleared, she at the conclave was like, so how about we just murder Thompson? And they're like, yeah, he has a shield. She's like, oh. Yeah, forget that. I don't think Thompson's long for this. I think I very much could see Venus advocating for his exit next conclave. So that's definitely possible.
That was the hard part, especially about the graves of it all, is everyone who ended up in there ends up getting more or less hard cleared as a faithful, and then they also get a shield. So they probably won't be banished, and they definitely can't be murdered. So it's almost like, are we lining these three people up for the next three murders and kind of locking in what we have to do, forcing our hand? I would not be thrilled as a traitor that I stop having options, but I don't think that long term Thompson is someone, as much as a Natalie or Jericho, who is never going to get banished. I could see the tide still turning on him. Maybe we should revisit this, 1 or 2 down the road when what we're doing is still not working. But I am happy that he is aiming to speak up more, because I think that he's someone who is at least, like, as we've seen, thinking about the game.
Yes. Someone else who either is thinking about the game or at the very least clearly has game that is being talked about, because it was news to us tonight. Sarah Nicole has Soldier Scally. Sarah Nicole, we are told from the conclave, has a bit of a clique at the moment, and they were looking to take someone out from that clique to take away her power. My number one question to you at this time is, why have we not met her properly then?
That's number one. Is also confusing for me. I'm hoping that we get to continue, because I feel like if a shot is taken at the click, maybe all of a sudden, sparks her energy. Maybe we're on a revenge tour. So that would be very fun. I think Sarah Nicole is someone who I thought in the premiere seemed to have a lot of potential, but they haven't really used that so far on the episode. So I am hoping that this leads to bigger and better things, but she doesn't seem to have taken the reins yet either.
What do you think about the short list that we were left with at the end of the episode? For the 3 people they're looking at murdering coming into next episode, we have Shaughnessy, Meredith, Kara.
Very interesting. I feel like there were a lot of people discussed in terms of who could be murdered. Obviously with Sarah Nicole, Kitten, etc. coming up also in there. I think personally, as Kevin says, he really likes Meredith bringing up his name. I think enough people are bringing up Kevin's name that he doesn't necessarily need Meredith. He might not know that yet. Yeah. But I think that if I am the Traitors, I want the mess that Meredith has been bringing still around.
Yeah. The feud with Lisette also is a great place to be. I think having that exist at the round table is perfect. So I agree, Meredith should not be looked at here. Similarly, I do not think you get rid of Kara now that you have vocalized that, yeah, Kara said to 5 different people, if I'm dead, look at Hollywood Jade, which means that more people are going to potentially theorize that that is just simply a thing that is going to exonerate Hollywood Jade. So let's not do that. Shaughnessy, I'm not mad at the choice, but I have to ask you, Scally, why are we not considering Sarah Nicole? If she's the ringleader of the operation, why not sever her and then sever all the ties she has and have those people scatter and be new people to pick up?
Yeah, I do think it is a little tough where I think Sarah Nicole could be someone who could get banished in theory. I think that she does have the personality, does have like the attitude that I could see getting picked for as a traitor. So I might not be inclined to murder her this soon. But I understand wanting to weaken her. I look back on, many a clicks on past seasons, and they're not that dangerous until all of a sudden there are 3, 4, 5 votes control over half of the voting power in the House. That becomes very scary. So I understand the desire to keep her around. I hope they don't regret it.
That's my worry, is that they could very well end up regretting it, especially if, to your point, they are then going to proceed to kill the 3 silent people that they hard cleared in a way. This might be their window before they start doing that, and then next thing you know it, combine that with murders during that time, that's 7 other people off the board before you can look at a Sarah Nicole. And if her people are still there, that's not good for you. Unless you've also infiltrated that, and then it's probably fine for you. So this might be a question of there might be more bonds there that we are not privy to, that we have not really seen play out.
Yep. I definitely agree with that. I think until this point, I mean, obviously the fact that they had put 4 reality TV influencery people in the graves, I was wondering, how much are we gonna really start just picking off the non-reality TV people here? I think that trend might not continue for too long, but I was a little bit worried that we were just going to be just like red shirting a lot of these people as either on the show or in terms of the game. So I'm hoping that's not the case.
I would hope so as well, but I guess we'll see that play out. Let's talk a little bit about the person banished this episode in Asfer, who, beginning of the season, we're told Asfer is as ferocious, and we're going to see Asfer really play this game. And I feel like Asfer's journey got cut completely short, in a very confusing way for me.
Yeah, I thought, oh my God, as ferocious. Let's see Asfer go home in a round table. I am so excited for that day. That is going to be drama. And I feel like while his name was not the entirety of the discussion, so maybe he didn't know, like, okay, people are coming for me, like I need to pound the table with like, I am absolutely good, I am not going home without a fight. I was a little underwhelmed, unfortunately, with the exit.
Oh, I was extremely underwhelmed. I kind of felt like Asfer was very fine with what was going on at the round table. I think even the the situation of like the whole like miscommunication about the coffin theory in previous seasons, which, like, listen, I think everyone doing their homework for the shows is good. I don't actually think then not knowing trivia from the other seasons. I literally am. People think of me as the Traitors expert. I mess up trivia about other seasons all the time, and I've covered like all of them. I forget. Like, it's a lot. You're allowed to forget. So I don't think you should get like judged off of that. I think that just should show people that you have good knowledge of this. I really think what ends up being Asfer's demise for the most part was, and this is a mistake we see people make sometimes, with this openness of saying, I was upset when I wasn't a traitor. I wanted to be a traitor. If people already thought of you as someone who would be a good candidate for it, you saying that only makes them think, yeah, I'm not about to let you double bluff me, Asfer. You're so a traitor, and you're trying to claim that you wouldn't be. Ha, fat chance I'm going to get you out. So I feel like that definitely contributed to the argument to look at Asfer. On top of then this whole like misinformation about trivia.
I think that it makes people feel less bad for voting for you too, because there's so many people that come in here and I think they can be a traitor, and then as soon as they're assigned the role of faithful and they've banished their first other faithful, they're like, that was the worst thing I've ever done in my life, I never want to do it again, oh my God, that was horrible. And so when someone is at the round table being like, I wish I could have done it, I wish I could have murdered every single one of you without any like qualms, like that would have been my goal here, like, okay, well, I'm having a really hard time with this, and it seems like you would not be, so I both feel less guilty about it. I'm a little worried that you could be very easily lying about it at the same time.
Yeah, like, again, I feel like the game of the traitors is almost always going to also boil down to, will I be okay if this person pulled the wool over my eyes? And more often than not, people do not want to be made to feel stupid. Yep. So the minute you say something like that, and I think that's a little bit why Chala is getting some heat also, is if you have somebody who can convince you so well that they are innocent, you don't want to be the idiot that they are laughing at in the confessional. You don't want to be the person child like, ha, idiot, I'm actually a traitor. You have no idea. You don't want to get got like that. You want to be the one getting. And I think that happens a lot, especially in the early goings. That could factor into a lot of early decisions when there's not a lot to go off of.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. I think that it's tough. I think that, like I said, if I'm in there, I'm like, I could
Mhm.
never. It would ruin me. Like, I applied saying I was gonna be a faithful. Yeah, there's just no world in which, or like at least you play it neutral. Like, you
Mhm.
not the I was desperate to be a traitor. I think even though most people would not say that if they were actually a traitor, because they would be too scared of what that of like leaking the truth too much. I think that like you said, people are so afraid to get double bluffed that they're just going to act on it anyway.
Yeah. Again, better safe than sorry. And like, I know we're all sad that a faithful goes up, but also if it's not me and you are a faithful, that's one step closer for me. So I'll be okay. I'll be
Yep.
fine. Um, the next person I want to talk about, Scally, is not a player, but it is the queen of the manor. I want to talk about Kareen because I think Kareen's playing a very, very fun role this season, more so than any host I can think of that we have seen. Kareen is gaslighting these people and being very shady towards their misfortunes. Even at the mission, yelling out, "Nope, he made another pick. He didn't pick you, just so you know." I love this. I love her kind of being shady towards the guests at the manor.
It's been super fun. I feel like that's something that won people over with Claudia on UK early, just like from the
Mm-hmm.
moment that she drops the picture of the first murdered faithful. Everyone's like, oh, like we're doing something different here. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
this is not the same or a copy. This is a totally different thing, but it's
Right.
a similar energy in that, like, I'm enjoying. Like, I enjoy the little bit of snark. I enjoy that you're playing with the other contestants, like you said, being like, they chose someone over you. And because that's my favorite part of the twist, is even though these people are pretty hard cleared, so many people are able to see, some version of what the alliances are in the house, who is valued over you in this house. So I was glad that she was calling that out and making it known to the people that are in these pits. You're not as valued as someone else in this game. So maybe even if you don't think someone is a traitor, you should do something to shake that up.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that this is a very, again, I feel like this season, we're getting a lot of buildup towards the, hey, you want to get rid of traders. We are giving you a $10,000 incentive to get rid of traders. I think also by Kareen playing this role, it's supposed to fan those flames and that line of traitor versus faithful more, and I think it's working. And I think it'll only continue to work with specific murders that are going to be done overnight, and I'm not mad at it. I think that it is a very fun way for Kareen to also be involved some more. I think that in the preseason interview, Kareen talked to me a little bit about how on the Quebec Traders, they do have a little segment where she gets to sit down with the person who's leaving, and it's a little more you're getting to talk to Kareen outside of the person. But here, I do like that there is this very strong persona there, and it's okay, I am a familiar face, but I am judging y'all. I love that she brings up history in this episode, bringing up that, once upon a time at this very round table, they got a traitor out in the second round table. Are you capable of doing that? Could you ever? Could you wish? Could you dream? I like that because also Hollywood Jade continuously bringing up season two and saying, I just don't want us to be like season two is so cinema going hand in hand with this, especially when y'all are way more season two than you are season one as of right now. Just saying. Just saying.
Yeah, yeah. I will say for Kareem, even though like she is obviously playing a character, I have never doubted that character in the way that, like, yeah, maybe a different host I now love but didn't necessarily buy in as hard early on. Kareen has been
Same.
consistent for me. Has been consistent for me. I have enjoyed the whole way through, and I feel like it has only improved in the role.
Yeah, again, 3 seasons plus 2 seasons of Quebec. Like, you can really see
Mhm.
that she's taken to this more and more with every passing season. And to your point, I co-sign. I have not felt like it was an act at all at any
Yeah.
point. I feel like if anything, I'm just seeing more of the passion on display that I have heard when talking to her personally also.
Yeah. Can I ask about the twist? Overall, thumbs up,
Okay.
thumbs down? Are we doing it again? How are you feeling on this?
So I like the idea that they can choose to put themselves in danger if they want. There's a world where someone is wacky enough that they would do this. However, I also like that you're, again, the fanning of the flames I enjoy. So the fact that you are going to make the faithfuls grab a shovel and bury one of their own is very fun to me, in a way that they could resent and want the traitors out even more. They can get angrier. I like it. Happened early enough also that I'm fine with it. I think, not to be biased on edit and what we've seen, but they did put 4 people who we didn't really know. So I didn't feel completely heartbroken. I empathize for Mackenzie, who gets her game get cut way short because of this twist. But it happened early enough that I think this was the right place for it to be. Maybe I would have had it be one more cycle later so that they had a regular murder in between the tie murder and then a regular murder, then do this, because they're about to have their first proper murder in the 3rd round. So that would be my only change. Otherwise, I really do like this twist, even though I may not have as much last week.
Yeah, I like it. I like you said, that it was so early in the game. I like having the faithfuls have to choose and turn on each other. It's something that we had theorized last week. And so I think that it was like a fun set piece, a fun design. I question if maybe there should have been like one less person. And so it would hard clear like at
Mhm.
least, uh, 2 people instead of 3. And so that feels like less insurmountable of an issue. But I then think it becomes even more unbelievable that a traitor would put themselves at a 2/3 chance, instead of a 75. So I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
all of that is hard. I do feel bad for Mackenzie, but at the same time, if I'm Mackenzie, I'm laying it on thick. I am at the bottom of that grave, like, please, I don't want to die. I have a family, please. I am going to make them feel so guilty on the way out. Turn on that acting skill. Green could give some
Mhm.
tips.
I think that now that we've talked about it more, if I am a faithful, I would rather be in this shortlist situation than just plain murdered overnight. Aside from the selfish fact of I want my moment in the sun, I think that it is kind of in your hands. Like, this is a direct, like, you have a chance. You have a 25% chance of getting murdered here. But if you've played your cards right, you have seemed innocent enough, you will get benefits on that, or you can turn on the guilt trip, you can turn on the acting skills. Worst case scenario, you go out anyway, but there's some camera time for you. I think that your life is somewhat in your hands. You have somewhat of agency here, as opposed to just, sorry, the letter states you are dead, so goodbye, leave.
Yeah. I think that it's very true. I could have it feel like it was more in my hands in terms of like, all right, my social game failed me. Like my game in terms of having convinced them that I was a faithful successfully failed me. And I agree you get a little bit more of a moment. I just am in the event that I am going to go home either way, I might rather go home ignorant to the fact that I did poorly.
I like the, yeah. I mean, I low key, I think I like the closure of knowing how my game ended versus waiting for everyone to get
Yeah.
back, getting in a group DM, and even then not knowing until the episodes go live really how it went down. So that would eat at me a little bit. I do think, but I don't know. I also think I would be very annoyed if I was murdered here. Like,
Totally.
you thought, I'm sorry, you thought Thompson was more innocent than me. Are you joking me? Like, I would not be okay with that. I would also feel, but I do like that as a murdered, I think, as a murdered faithful, one of the few murdered faithfuls that can actively tell you what their role is on the way out. Usually just being murdered confirms that you're a faithful. So I did like the little bit of moment you have there also. It's like a cross between a banishment and a murder.
Yeah.
Like a banishment light or murder light, like a hybrid.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed it, especially as a TV product. I only am worried about like how cleared some people appear to be, but if that does not end up being the case, then like, 2 thumbs up. So
Yeah, which I think product of the traitors' choices, their consequences of picking the
True.
more silent people is that in this specific instance, they turned out innocent. And I think for me, if not for the fact that anyone could have died here, that wouldn't have been the case. I think if this was a regular standard coffin theory or like a coffin where it's like, well, we know what the shortlist was, but we are watching, we saw one die in the coffin. I think that's a little bit different. I think they could look at a Thompson moving forward, and then Thompson gets banished and is innocent. They're like, Jericho, the mastermind indeed. But yeah, so I think moving forward, Scally, I guess let's ask you this question. Now that we know how it got perceived, who would be the right, because they even talked about in the conclave how they probably made the wrong choice. Who are the right 4 to put in if you know that the quiet people are going to get exonerated?
I feel like if you know the quiet people are going to get exonerated, the problem is I think that most people here are going to get exonerated, and so you almost want to put in people who, though they might get exonerated for a short while, could still continue to do bad things that are going to make them sus later. So I think maybe putting in someone like Hollywood, who is seemed to be very faithful, but is definitely a personality. So going to have, some energy around them continuing moving forward. I think I would potentially go for someone like like maybe a Rhea, who had also been talked about as a very, very faithful player in the game, but is probably going to have a much bigger reaction to being down there and moving forward. So I could see Rhea. I don't think I would want to lose Meredith this early, but it would be very tempting to get the reaction from Meredith in that grave.
I think, yeah. So where I'm sitting, my thoughts would be, I want to fan, like if they truly wanted the Cavs, want to fan the Flames, it would feel mean, it would feel targeted. You put both Meredith and Lisette in there, because I think the other part of it is the reason why these 3 or these 4 are somewhat seen as innocent is that you don't really see a motive for either of those people going after each other and then putting themselves in there to look innocent. Whereas with Meredith and Lisette, I do think there's a world where if both survive, they're pointing the finger at each other even harder now. Or if one dies is confirmed faithful, you're like, well, you benefit from her leaving, so that's kind of sketchy, and like you survived. So I think that would be a fun way to fan the Flames and have a little bit more going there, whilst also, risking losing one of the 2, but potentially getting more drama if they both survive. It's almost a net positive in a way.
Yeah, I do agree that if you went to either one of them and were like, no, you both were in there, so you're pretty much hard cleared. It's like, nope, I don't agree. I'm still voting them out no matter what.
My name. Yeah.
Nope, done.
100%.
We all have to vote for her. It's over. Like, that's definitely going to continue to be a thing. So I don't hate it.
Yeah, I would not be mad at that. I would like to give my was also their award, aka the Who. We're giving the Whoey to Dom this week because Dom also there.
I feel bad. I feel like Dom is a pretty big name coming in here. I think people were like, oh my God, Dom from Perfect Match, Dom from The Mole, he's here. And yeah, not very heavily featured in this episode. So give me more Dom.
Bit of a quiet one this time around, or at least this week. So next week, Scally, the kind of the last thing I want to bring up here, we see the little preview at the end. And the only part of the preview I really want to talk about is we see the shot of Kareen holding a tray of gold coins. I think a lot of people online are theorizing that, is this a spoiler that a traitor is leaving and they just got money? I think you and I are on the same page here. Tell me if I'm correct. This to me feels more of Kareen's, I'm gaslighting y'all, of look at what you could have if you did this right. What do you think? Which direction are we going?
I could see maybe even, we've had a round where they've offered a bounty on a trader's head just like for a 1 round only in the past on Traitors Canada too, I believe. So could there be a world in which like I've offered you $10,000, obviously it's not enough for this week only, it's doubled. And this is how much you could be, or something like that. Like, could it be an increased bounty even? I don't know.
Little intrigue. I would be into that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not mad at it. I
Do you-
go ahead.
so like, let's say we get to like episode 7 and they've not gotten rid of a traitor yet. I'm not mad at that. If like, you know what, you need benefit, you need a prop up, you need a little juicy, 20,000 now.
Yeah. Yeah, especially if they start doing really poorly in these missions and start taking no money home. What's the harm?
Yeah, you got to get to the 100K as close as you can, right?
Exactly.
So, the day where it's like, all right, it's 50,000. If you get a traitor out, what are we doing here? Somebody take this money. We're giving it away.
Exactly. Yeah, and Kevin is already fiending to get Coco out. I can't imagine the $50,000 day.
You know what? Let's talk about it because I feel like we've literally gone an hour without speaking about it. 3 for 3 now, or 2 for 3, I guess, if we're going to be fair. Kevin pushing the Coco narrative. We see Kevin take Omar aside and be like, listen, you need to lie and you need to plant this seed about Coco being a 2-time Big Brother player and finalist. And again, really trying to hammer that home. I like his positioning within the conclave until this information goes out, because it looks like Venus and him are the tight 2, and then Coco thinks that her and Kevin are the tight 2. So he's doing well with the relationships, but for some reason he's on this revenge path, Scally, and I just don't understand why. I don't get it.
I feel bad talking about so much of the Traitors every single week, but they really have been delivering. Where if you were to draw out some type of, alliance chart of just the Traitors, it's like, okay, well, Kevin and Venus have a mutual like 2-way path. And Coco has a 1-way path to Kevin, but Venus has like a dotted line from Coco where she wants Coco to think that she's her number one, but it's not working.
And Coco wants to think Venus is doing Venus thinks the same. So it's like they're both dotted line to each other.
It's very, very interesting. So I love the dynamics of the Traitors this season. I feel like nothing is solid and set in stone. Now, I understand from Kevin, if Kevin was to go really hard towards the end on Coco, because you got to get the other Traitors out. I'm not splitting the money. It's not happening. And I know who they are. So I understand that if you are to go super deep into the game with Coco and then suddenly, oh, Eureka, I think it's Coco and I think we should get her out. Traitor on traitor violence is, Asfair's not here to get the stat wrong, but it's very common. And so
hard to get this one wrong.
Exactly. It's very, very common. It's something that is looked at all the way through. As soon as a traitor goes home, all right, who is pushing them the most? And especially if it's out of nowhere, because that feels like a dead giveaway. So I understand if you're going to make the move on Coco, if you do it earlier, maybe it won't look as suspicious because we don't have this pattern of you not getting it right for so long that is, juxtaposed with you all of a sudden getting it right on Coco. So I understand the thought of doing it early, but it still makes me really worried. Still, the traitor on traitor violence is such a scary meta to the game.
Yeah, I think that's the concern for me, is that at this stage in the cycle of the Traitors globally, I would be extremely worried that people are smart to or quick to point fingers at the person who planted the name of the traitor who went out and think, you must know more than we know, because how did you get it? Especially if that's the primary name you're putting out and you get it right, it can be a bit of a concern. That being said, part of me feels like Kevin told us why he is doing this. I think Kevin very much articulated in episode 1 that in his world, if Ty's not there for him to sacrifice later, he is not winning this game. And I think that the alternative to that now is, I'm not winning this game. Let me have my moment, right? He wants to do chaos in the conclave. He wants to rat out and get a traitor out as a traitor. He wants to be a part of that. I could very well see this be Kevin's way of being like, well, if I do think I might not win, I might as well have as much fun as I can on my return to television, which I respect immensely. I think the only part where I'm like, Kevin, please, is because I see how good of a game he is playing. His name is circulating a little bit. We do see this at the end of the episode where Jericho's kind of looking at him a little sideways. We see, I think it was a combination of Meredith, Natalie, and I don't remember who the third person there was who were talking about him at the very end. So his name is out there, but in the conclave, he's doing such a good job that I almost feel bad seeing him target Coco so much when Coco's working with him. Coco is willing to ride this out with Kevin sincerely. I think Kevin letting Ty go ended up being the goodwill that Coco was looking for, so much so that even though Coco got to keep Venus, who she was fighting for, she's like, but Kevin's my guy though. So I'm like, bro, if only you knew. Like, don't do it. Please do not push Coco out just yet. I think you've planted the seeds now, right? Leave them. You've planted the seeds, leave them, let them naturally harvest. And then when the time is right, you can go for that. You can take your moment. You can have your Netta moment, essentially.
Yeah. For me, I am so interested in Kevin's spot because even though I feel like we are getting hit a little hard over the head with Kevin is coming from Coco, even though I feel like his name's coming up a little bit. I think if I had to bet on is Kevin going to go home in the next like 3.5 episodes, I would still bet no. Like, I really don't see it happening. I have a lot of faith in Kevin. I think also to the point of like, if Kevin thinks he can't win the game, is he just trying to have a lot of fun? I mean, for myself, whether it be Kevin or a couple of other players here or past seasons, like he's in that type of player where, okay, even if he knows 10 out of 10 doors are closed and locked in his face, like I still expect him to pick the lock. So I don't think I would be counting him out, even without Ty, even maybe, you know, if Omer's onto him. I think that Kevin is someone that like I'm going to have in there solidly with a chance. Now, I am nervous. I think that him pushing for Omer to make the move on Coco also could be he knows the danger of traitor on traitor violence, maybe trying to set up Omer for taking the fall on that, of like, oh yeah, maybe Omer was the traitor that was trying to push Coco out of here, but I don't think Omer's falling for that either. So it's tough when your close allies are also very, very capable in this game.
Mm-hmm. Well, I do think that what it looks like to me is that he vocalizes this. He wants to bring his ideal dream conclave is him, Venus, Omer. And I think he recognizes that if those three choose to work together, they could really do something in this game. I think what he might not realize is having Coco is just as good for you right now as Omer is, because Coco is not coming after you. Coco actively sees you as your number as the number one. But again, it's harder to understand that when we saw how hardly he defended Ty staying until he let it go. Like, I understand, I empathize with the idea that he is worried that the mask has slipped a little and Coco already doesn't trust him for that. And also he's upset and wants his lick back for losing Ty. But I think he's not in a bad spot in the conclave. I do see his name. We do see his name come up a little bit. I still think he has some staying power. I think we've already talked about this on the pod, where having that personality be out there early allows it to not be used against you and more so be just seen as you being you. So I think it's more forgivable then. So we'll see how it goes for him. I want to now, lastly, talk about who I think is doing the best amongst the traitors. Because coming into episode 3, I don't think my answer would have been this person, but I'm loving everything I'm seeing from her. A ice cold in the veins, someone who is genuinely, to me, looking like the prime candidate to take it all, and that's Venus. I love the way Venus is approaching this game. I think that having that first night of I am a faithful really helped her convince herself she's a faithful, and she's operating under that assumption. We do see in the preview that her name does circulate a little bit. It's coming up a little bit here or there, but I feel like she's been so cool, calm, collected. I love her position in the conclave specifically also. And in the event this Coco versus Kevin thing kicks off, I think Venus is the one that's going to be most protected by this. I don't think it's going to happen for her. And I like the advice she was giving to Kevin of like, let's not do that. Like, let's calm down a little bit. So I'm loving everything I'm seeing. We're up Venus right now. Like, Venus is killing it.
I completely agree. I feel like even though on paper you see that both traitors, Wayne and Venus and Coco, want to work with Kevin, you should think, I might feel the best there. But I think being the fact that Kevin is basically rejecting Coco's like duo ship there, Vino, it's not as if Coco is looking to target Venus, even if she is, not necessarily looking at her as a number one. I still think there is so much runway left in that game between the two of them that Venus is in absolutely no danger there. I think that she is the least likely to go home of the three of them, the most likely to last the longest of the three of them as it currently stands. Maybe next week that changes up, but as of right now, I'm buying tons of Venus stock.
I 100% co-sign that purchase and would also buy a ton of Venus stock as well. Scally, is there anything else we need to discuss or any stone you feel is unturned before we wrap it up here?
I have one thing. I have one
Ooh,
little
okay.
thing, and that is, as the twist plays out, they climb out of their graves, and Thompson decides that he's so excited he's going to do a backflip out.
Yo. Yes.
Unless there are 15 and a half feet of pillows in that 16-foot grave, like, don't even walk near the grave. I don't want you to be anywhere near that doing a backflip. No, don't draw more attention to yourself, first of all. But also, like, don't. No, if God, what happens if he falls? The Traitors Canada's over. We never see it again. So no backflips near the graves. Don't do that, Thompson.
Don't do that from a safety perspective. And also, you just cheated death in the game. We don't need you to be cheating death in not the game and in the game. Again, you should be sad. You are like horrified at what just happened. You barely survived. You should be a little anxious, not excited over the moon doing backflips. I'm quite surprised that didn't get used against him, quite frankly. Like, like you seem very calm for someone who thought they were going to die. What's that about? Like,
oh God. Yeah. That is too enthusiastic. If I am production, though, as you said, from the safety perspective, Thompson, get in the van right now. Like, don't walk to everyone else. Don't talk to everybody.
Give us your shield. You are cut off. Yeah.
I am pissed.
Let's do the prediction. One last prediction. Ooh. Who is getting banished from the short list of 3 we were given? Meredith, Shaughnessy, or Kara?
In watching the conclave as they were talking it out, I really was thinking it was going to end up being Kitten if I had to put my money on it before. Now that if I'm picking out of those 3 names, I think Shaughnessy might have escaped death one too many times, unfortunately.
I thought Shaughnessy's name came up the appropriate amount of time to remind us who Shaughnessy is today, just so that she is the first one out next episode. And it breaks me because I really felt like we were going to get some fun stuff from Shaughnessy here, but that doesn't seem to be the case. I think Meredith's story is way too strong for her story to end here. I feel like we would have seen a payoff of some kind between her, Chala, Lizette, and that whole thing. Like, I think we've seen something there. And Kara, I feel like they made it very clear that it would be a dumb move to do it. So why would they get rid of Kara here? If they do, I would love to see how it all plays out. And maybe that is the catalyst to have people point at a Kevin or put the heat over there of like who was told about what Kara said about Hollywood Jade. So we'll see. But I do think Shaughnessy seems to be the one I would also bet on.
Yep. Yeah, that's just where I'm at right now. Obviously, I do think it still could be Kara. I feel like, far be it from me to assume that, people on reality TV are immune from making bad decisions. And maybe there's more that we don't know that could make it an okay to actively good decision. But as it stands right now, I think it seems unlikely to be her.
Yeah. I think that Shaughnessy caught 1 vote tonight. Natalie going rogue here. But I don't see no one's going to look at Natalie and be like, wow, Natalie wanted, like, Natalie's not going to get framed for that. Whereas the Hollywood Jade Kara thing, Kara was so convinced that she took a shot that she shouldn't have, and she's going to have to pay for it. And I think they know that's going to be a little more drama played out for them to talk about and watch. So I think Kara is my second option. Meredith is just third. I don't think that's happening at all. But yeah, well, I guess we'll find out.
All of next episode is everyone running around being like, how could you, Natalie? She took out Shaughnessy. We all know.
That would be cinema for all the wrong reasons.
Yep.
Yeah, that would be a sight to behold. No one's votes really stood out to me as WTF here. I guess Rhea voting Lizette may have been the only one because what did happened here? But I'm sure Lizette's gonna let Rhea know exactly what she thinks about that vote later and breakfast moving on tomorrow. So we'll see, or next week rather. We'll see.
Actually, I'm so glad we went back to the vote because really great line from Meredith where she's about to vote and she's like, I have never felt such two-faced behavior in my life, but this is nothing personal. Like, what? That feels personal.
You couldn't have made it sound more personal. Like, this person spat in my face, but
Yep.
I'm not bugging. It's fine. I'm voting them anyway, but I don't care. It doesn't bother me. I don't know about that. Yeah, that was very funny. Someone else, was it Hollywood who said we listen and we don't judge and then voted?
Yeah.
Hollywood's doing the Survivor confessional vote outs here a little bit.
Looking for a moment. Definitely looking, let's do the TikTok trend to hopefully have a TikTok moment.
Yeah. I would love a clapback from somebody if they're feuding with Hollywood to do that and then vote Hollywood would be funny. Could you imagine Hollywood? They get to a point where everyone's annoyed with Hollywood and they're voting Hollywood out, and we just have a whole roundtable of people doing one-liners on the way out here. That'd be funny.
I can definitely see it. Most likely person to deliver a one-liner against Hollywood. Who do you have?
Ooh, deliver, you mean like we're like, damn, that hit. Like that was a good
Not
one.
like, no, not like wow, but like who do you think is a little bit of a petty bone in their body?
Omar Zahir.
Yep.
He did it. He did it a little bit here with Asper. I don't remember what analogy he used, but he kind of went in.
Yeah, I could see it.
Again, I really thought As Ferocious was gonna clap back at some of these people, and it just didn't happen. Asper was very like, I appreciate all of you. It's nice meeting all of you. I'm a faithful goodbye. I'm saddened that we didn't get more of that.
Hey, for those who voted for him from the heart of his bottom, was the most that we got. I feel like for As Ferocious, it was tough in that it's like, you made a mistake. Like, okay, yeah, I did make a mistake. I don't really know how to argue against this, and I wouldn't really personally be valuing this too much. So if I have a really big reaction, I don't feel like that's necessarily going to be the right move either. But, wish that the monster was let out of its cage a little bit.
Yeah, like we're still early enough in the season that a little mistake like this is going to cost you greatly. Yep. A little less than last week, mind you, because at least it was a bit of a split vote with Chala being the recipient otherwise. But if I'm Chala, I'm not going to bed comfy tonight, even though I got votes. I know I'm not going to get murdered, but I know I have to play a lot of damage control the next day. Yep. So especially with this group who are kind of on a hive mind situation right now, but I guess we'll see how it plays out next time.
I guess we'll see.
Mm-hmm. Well, Scally, we had a good time. Let the people know where else they can find you if they're trying to listen to more Scally goodness.
Ooh, people can find me over on the Free Agents podcast talking with Matt Ligori about the challenge and about the amazing race. It's been super fun, so go check that out, as well as on Twitter at Brian_Scally, on Blue Sky at Brian Scally, and on Twitch at twitch.tv/bscally.
There we go. Y'all can find me on all socials at Pooyaism, twitch.tv/Pooya. That's where I am when I'm not podcasting. But right now, I am also podcasting about Celebrity Traitors UK Season 1. The finales this week. Myself and Annabelle will be talking all about that to see who plural are our winners. I couldn't think of what the plural. Whatever. It's late and English is my second language. That's what I'm going with here. No one can judge me. But yeah, so we'll see who gets crowned the victor or victors of that season. Nailed it. So find that. And then I talked with Jason Reed about 90 Day Fiancés The Other Way this week. You can find that in your feed as well. Leon and I will be back together to talk about the whatever we want to talk about over on the lounge. But we had our Halloween episode last week. So if you want to see what Halloween outfits we had, check that last episode out and then find this one here. And I think that's every plug I had for y'all here today. Thank you, everyone. Be on the lookout for exit interview in the event that we have that. I can tell you right now for free, this one's not going to be scheduled for when you've expected to see it in the last couple of weeks. So be a little patient with it. And that'll be in your feed when it's ready. Until then, Y'all take care. Have a good one. We'll see you next week with episode number 4. Bye.
This is RHAP. We Know Reality TV.